We could look at high performance and define it as the efficiency with which something fulfills on its intended purpose. In humans, it's all about being effective. And resilience as the capacity to bounce back, to respond quickly to change or illness or misfortune, buoyancy. And in physics, they say it's the property of a material that allows it to resume its original shape or form after being bent, stretched, or compressed, elasticity. So I don't know if you've ever felt a bit bent, stretched, or compressed in your lives. But the thing that probably taught me the most about resilience, what I'm calling headstrong mental toughness, was constantly observing and being humbled by my crewmate and my flatmate, Chris Jarvis. He was an Olympic rower, a World Cup winner. He was a heck of a competitor. And he was a type 1 diabetic. Chris was diagnosed with diabetes when he was 11 years old. For some, that would seem like a death sentence. It meant that he had to inject himself with insulin 10 to 12 times a day. He used to remind me to check on him in the morning to see if he was not in a coma. He could have skin problems, foot disease, stroke, kidney problems, heart attack. He was given an even longer list of things that could threaten his life. Imagine being 11 years old, told that you might not be able to go after your dreams in life because your health was too fragile. The thing was, Chris did not give even more than a moment's thought to those long listed don'ts. For him, the choice was simple, because he had an 8-year-old sister who already had the same disease. She'd been diagnosed 2 years prior. And at 11, he decided to show his sister with absolute determination that nothing, no disease, had to stop you from chasing your dreams. We're fortunate enough to be given another part of our brain, the neocortex, which most people have probably heard about. It's this white, intestinal-looking sort of gray matter that sits on top of the limbic system. And that part of the brain has got an incredible property called neuroplasticity, which means it can change, it can build, it can grow to new input. Imagine being able to re-hardwire a computer. It does it on its own. But right now, the human brain, the neocortex, is the most technologically advanced piece of equipment on this planet. Sometimes with the footy players, one of the things we talk about is creatively thinking of different ways to interpret media. So someone publicly, nationally, in a newspaper says something nasty about you. I say, well, just come up with something that works. If you beat yourself up about it and you're nervous and anxious and upset all week long, it's not going to work very well. I imagine you could call yourself generous. You're generous because your story is feeding a lot of journalists' kids. It's just a different way of thinking about it. Best predictor of success in life is the capacity to delay gratification. Keep your eye on the long-term result. There's been some fantastic research on this with kids and Smarties. You may have heard of it. Marshmallows, Smarties, candies. Take a 5-year-old, give them a small bowl of Smarties. Say you're going to walk out of the room and say, if you don't touch any of those, we're going to come back and give you a bigger bowl. The delay of gratification. The kids who can get on top of that one do better in life. In fact, the capacity to delay gratification is the best predictor of high school grades, ahead of IQ, ahead of time spent studying, and school attendance record. It seems almost inconceivable that that's so. I had an elite triathlete that I worked with a number of years ago who really got in touch with his inner headstrong through this mindset. He's probably been both my most rewarding and my most challenging client. My most challenging because he was so concerned about what other people thought of him, so stuck in how he felt and thinking that people would see him as weak. I spent 2 years with the squad, and he only came to see me twice. And both those times, he walked into my office, dumped a bunch of stuff, and said, oh yeah, everything's fine, and walked out and suffered in silence for the next few months. Now eventually, after 2 years, he came to me. The funny thing was, looking back, and it was a bit of a hard one on my ego, he said, you know, I hated coming to talk to you, talking about my feelings and what was going on for me. What a waste of time I thought it was. The thing that made a difference was the day he picked up the phone. He was desperate. He'd been in the whiskey bottle for 3 days. And he simply said, I need help. He's probably my most rewarding client because despite how he felt, he got in action. And he had some shocking days, deep depressions, overwhelming anxiety, stories playing over in his head about self-loathing. But he kept going. He opened up to the guidance of another. And he kept getting in action despite how he felt. That winter, his squad and his coach recognized him as the most disciplined and most improved athlete of the year. Being weak is tough, but being open to your vulnerability gets you out of the darkest places.